Did you just arrive? Maharaj, did you just arrive?
I won't be here long, don't worry.
But
I can't do much damage.
I won't be here long. I'm leaving today. Hare Krishna.
My good fortune.
My good fortune. Welcome to Sri Vrindavan Dham.
Glad to be here.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pumam nevaiti adgatva. Bila swagam gato yata. Pratyagdama vidaiha. Kimasad kama bhavet. Pumam naivaiti adgatva. Bila swagam gato yata. Pratyagdama vidaiha. Kimasad kama bhavet.
Manavaiti yadgatva. Vilasargam gato yata. Pratyagdama vidaiha. Kimasat karma vir bhavet.
Anyone else like to read? Any of the Matajis like to chant? Anyone else? Anyone else? Pumam, a human being. Na, not. Eva, indeed. Eti, comes back. Yat, to which Gatva, having gone, Bilvaswagam, to the region of the lower planetary system known as Patala. Gata, gone. Yata, like. This is such an interesting verse, actually. Pratyak Dhamma, the effulgent spiritual world. So a contrast is being made between the subterranean heavenly planet, or planets known as Bilvaswaga, and the spiritual world. Avidha, of the unintelligent man. Iha, in this material world. Kim, what benefit? Asat karma be, with temporary fruit of activities. Bhavet, there can be. So in Kimasate karma bir bhavet, in the last line of this sloka, it's saying, what is the benefit of performing fruitive activities? Because they are asat, they are temporary, the results are temporary, the benefit is temporary. So there's two things a contrast being set up here, and we'll hear about it in the translation. But a contrast is being set up between the result of attaining in one sense, the highest happinesses of this world in Bilvaswaga, and attaining the spiritual realm, Goloka Vrindavan. Please listen to Srila Prabhupada's translation. Narada Muni had described that there is a bila, or hole, from which, having entered, one does not return. The Haryasvas understood the meaning of this allegory. They understood the deep meaning of Narada Muni. Hardly once has a person who has entered the lower planetary system called Patala have been seen to return. If one enters the Vaikuntha Dham, Pratyag Dham, this is the contrast. So in Bilvaswaga, if you enter there, hardly one person ever returns from this lower planetary system. But if one enters the Vaikuntha Dham, Pratyag Dham, he does not return to this material world. If there is such a place from which, having gone, one does not return to the miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in the temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place? What will be the profit? Please repeat after me. Narada Muni had described that there is a bila, a hole, from which, having entered, one does not return. The Haryasvas understood the meaning of this allegory. Hardly once has a person who has entered the lower planetary system called Patala have been seen to return. Similarly, if one enters the Vaikuntha Dham, Pratyag Dham, he does not return to this material world. If there is such a place, if there is such a place from which, having gone, one does not return to the miserable condition of life, the miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in the temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place, what will be the profit? Now, Srila Prabhupada's purport is not very short, but it is not long. Please listen very carefully, and after I read it, I will ask you what you remember. Or, yes, this is the advanced warning. Or, what struck you most? What words of Prabhupada struck you the most? Ready? Because this is Srila Prabhupada giving his explanation of this verse, and it's also Srila Prabhupada speaking to us directly. Because Srila Prabhupada, if he was sitting directly there on the Vyasasan, we would be listening so attentively. And this is Prabhupada's message to us in the same way. So please listen. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita 15:6, Yad gatva na navartante tadhamma paramam mama. There is a region from which, having gone, one does not return to the material world. This region has been repeatedly described. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 4:9, Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvata takva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. If one can properly understand Krishna, who has already been described as the Supreme King, he does not return here after giving up his material body. This fact has been described in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Pumam naivarti yat gatva. He does not return to this material world, but returns home, back to Godhead, to live an eternally blissful life of knowledge. Why do people not care about this? What will be the benefit of taking birth again in this material world, sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a demigod, and sometimes as a cat or a... Yes. What is the benefit of wasting time in this way? Krishna has very definitely asserted in Bhagavad Gita 8:15, Mamupetya punar janma dukalayama shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they never return, because they have attained the highest perfection. One's real concern should be to free himself from the repetition of birth and death and attain the topmost perfection of life by living with the Supreme King in the spiritual world. In these verses, the sons of Daksha repeatedly say, Kim asat kamabir bhavet. What is the use of impermanent fruitive activities? Now, what do you remember? Raise your hand. Or what struck you? Yes.
Why am I such a dummy? The Haryasas heard it,
Yes.
completely understood it, bam, went back to Godhead. And I'm looking around for a sandwich or something else to do. That's my pleasure.
Yes, yes. Thank you. What struck you? Raise your hand. Yes, Prabhu.
It says that from hell nobody came back.
Yes.
So doesn't that make God negative instead of reforming?
So there's a question attached to that one. what you remember, that it appears that no one came back from going to Bilvaswarga. But there's some, so why is Krishna so cruel, basically, that if you go down this hole, you can't come back, you have no other choice? That was your question, yes? Interesting question that we won't answer right now, but we'll speak about that. Thank you. Thank you for listening in an attentive way. Anyone else remember something? Yes, Paul. And you're next in the back. Yes.
It is very unfortunate that although we know what is the real truth, we keep moving around this material world.
Jumping like now, Vrindavan's the perfect place to experience this one. Jumping like monkeys. We grab a branch, and especially the big male ones. We shake it and we shake it and we shake it to show everyone how strong and powerful we are. But this is just monkey business only. Thank you. Anyone else? Did you have something? Anyone else remember something? Yes.
It struck me the most when you said that you should listen attentively as Prabhupada is here because this is his own words. So there's no difference.
Yeah, I actually heard him say, why are we so interested in distributing books? And then he answered the question, because it is distribution of knowledge. And he said that twice, because it is distribution of knowledge. And he insisted that this knowledge was exactly what the world requires, especially at this time of Kali Yuga, which is such a dark time, an increasingly dark time. Manda samanda mate, or manda abhagya upadurta, where there's such an increase of quarrel and strife. Everyone is fighting and everyone says it's mine, and everyone's so attached to their bodies and their mental ideas. And here, Srila Prabhupada is saying just the opposite. Just hear about Krishna. Don't try to make this material world a perfect place for you to live in, because you can't. This is the most basic knowledge. But rather, we should look towards Sisi Gaunitai, Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyama Sundar, and we should become absorbed in this. Thank you. Anyone else remember something? Yes, Prabhu. Loudly. Oh, yes, but I won't answer it. We'll wait till the end for questions. But if you could say something that you remembered.
I remember whatever you said, the ultimate aim has to be going to a distant log where one should not come back and one is permanently happy.
Yes, go there.
That is what I remember.
Yes. Yes, and we'll ask you first, right at the end, or maybe second. But first, okay? Okay.
Sounds a lot like he's asking a question.
Yes. But have you read the Bhagavad Gita? Okay. Oh, very nice. And just think how fortunate you are. You have so much more to go, and you will learn so many wonderful things. Because Arjuna, in the Bhagavad Gita, he is a warrior and a family man, and he wanted to renounce everything, just like you were mentioning, but Krishna told him to act in such a way that he is pleased. So how you can act in such a way that Krishna is pleased is the essence of the answer of your question in your circumstance. So you should associate with the devotees more, and they will be so happy if you ask them that question. The people who really know you and your situation. Some personal guidance is very, very, very helpful. Otherwise, from here we can just give some general advice. So study Bhagavad Gita, associate with devotees, and increase that desire. That is actually your wealth. That desire to be with Krishna. Not to give up the material world in the sense of how can you stop breathing? How can you stop eating? But give up the sense of the material world as meant for me and my pleasure. But give up that concept and accept the concept that this material, Vishwapornam Sukhayate, can be the most wonderful place if we see that this is Krishna's. It's Krishna's energy. So how can I use this in Krishna's service? How can I use my current situation in Krishna's service? How can I use who I am in this body at this particular time with whatever Krishna has given me? How can I use that for the pleasure of Krishna? So you associate with devotees, read Bhagavad Gita, and chant. Okay? Okay, now I'm not going to be brave enough to ask if anyone has any more questions. Thoughts or remembrances. But I had something that I wanted to say after reading this verse in purport. But first I will pray for some ability to say something. Om Jnanataminandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chaksusamilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapandantikam Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindu Bhayavicha Patitinam Pabhinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. This verse is in what canto? Raise your hand. What canto? This is an easy question. Okay, Adi Prabhu. Yes, it's in the 6th canto. And very good. And I'll ask a question that's a little more difficult, but not much more difficult. What was the canto before the 6th canto? Okay. 5th canto. Now, I've just studied the 5th canto. And there is, as you would imagine, there is a great connection between what's in the 6th canto and what's in the 5th canto. And in the 5th canto, especially in the teachings of Lord Rishabhdev, he's explained something right in the very beginning of his teachings to his sons. Who knows that verse? Where is he? Yes, we were waiting for you. What is the first verse? Tapodivyam. Putra kayena sattva. But don't sit right there, Prabhu.
I thought better is to see my face.
But then I'll just... But then I can't see your face. What can I do? This is all rasa. So that verse, that particular subject that Rishabhdev Maharaj is saying is getting carried throughout the 5th canto and then into the 6th canto. But in the 6th canto, the essence is going to be expanded further, and in the 7th canto, still further yet. In the 5th canto, Rishabhdev Maharaj has said, Arhati vidbhujam ye, that don't use your life, your human life, for that which is, arhati means deserved, which is deserving of vidbhujam ye, means, pardon the expression, but those who eat stool. Animals, the lowest of animals, the pigs, the dogs, and they enjoy the pleasures of the senses. They have no choice. So Rishabhdev Maharaj is saying that this is not what human beings are meant for, but rather Brahmasokyam Tvanantam, unending spiritual bliss, unending Tvanantam, unending spiritual bliss It is available for you as a human being. Take it. Take it. And that's what Prabhupada is saying in the purport. And this is what Srila Sukadeva Goswami is saying to Maharaj Parikshit. Don't use your life to go and attain the pleasures of animal life. And very interesting what Narada Muni is telling the Haryasvas. He's saying this Bilva Swaga. This is what's very interesting I found about this, that in the 5th canto, when it describes the universe, it describes 3 levels of heavenly enjoyment. 3 levels. Not just Swagaloka, but then there's Bhoma Swaga, and then there's Bilva Swaga. There is an upper level of heavenly enjoyment, and then a middle earthly level, on Bhumandala level of heavenly enjoyment, where there's so much pleasure. It describes that in the earthly level of heavenly enjoyment, people enjoy as if it was Treta Yuga. There is so much pleasure there. There is no anxiety there. And then there's Bilvaswaga, which is very, very in the subterranean planets. There's Attala, Talatala, Vitala, and there's Sutala. And there's more, but I don't remember their names. But in these subterranean planets, we'll get the speciality of those subterranean planets in a moment. But in the Swagaloka, in the 5th canto, it describes that in Swagaloka, after you've enjoyed the benefits of your piety, you come down to exhaust the remaining benefits in earthly Swaga. So in the heavenly Swaga planets, in the heavenly planet, there is such enjoyment. Has anyone recently been there? There is such a, not that I've recently been there, but it is very, very, very sweet. It is not, when we think of enjoyment, we tend to think of taking the enjoyments that we enjoy on earth and just more of it. Your stomach is bigger, you can eat more. Your credit cards that you don't have to pay them or something like that. But it's not like that at all. It's not like that. It is much more subtle and refined, the pleasures there. Very, very subtle. Like the example is the people who like very, very heavy, loud music. Heavy metal music, as they call it in the West. But then there are people who like the symphonies, the more subtle, the fine ragas and raginis. Very, very subtle combination of sounds. So the enjoyment of the person who has gross sense of hearing and music is not the same as the person who has this developed very finer sense. Or there's the people who like to eat very, very gross food. We won't even mention them. But then there are the people, the gourmets is the English word. The people are very, very fine scent. Their tongue is very refined. And they can enjoy so much more pleasure because of the subtlety. So Swagaloka is subtle pleasure. But subtle pleasure based on the body and the senses. And the mind is peaceful. And after one has enjoyed there for some time, still one must come down. One dies and comes down to the earthly Swaga, which is very, very pleasurable, almost like the heavenly Swaga. So in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, it describes that the people in Bhumandala who are in the earthly Swaga planets, they are praying for a birth not again to go to Swagaloka. They've been there, but they had to suffer coming down. But they're praying for a birth in Bharatvarsha on earth. And very interesting, why? Because they've experienced very top-level material enjoyment. And then they've experienced it ending. And they want to come to earth because of the facility to hear and chant about Krishna, the Sankirtan. This is what the Bhagavatam describes. Because by hearing and chanting about Krishna, one develops, just as, where did he go? Where is that gentleman who asked the question before? He's disappeared already. He's gone back.
Maybe he went to read his Gita.
But by coming to Vrindavan, by coming to Krishna's temple, by seeing the deities, by hearing the Bhagavatam, Mahaprabhu says in, or Vrindavan Das Thakur says in Chaitanya Bhagavat, that through the Sankirtan of the holy name, Mahaprabhu caused the bliss of Vaikuntha to descend. When one comes to Vrindavan, when one comes to a temple, when one stands in front of the deities, when one becomes absorbed in the Bhagavatam, in the association of devotees, there's just a different taste, a different flavor, a higher taste. Param dvistva nirvartite. And once one gets that taste, that is a seed that will grow into a plant that will take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. It will keep growing until it manifests its fruits of prema bhakti. So the residents of earthly Swaga, Bhoma Swaga, they are praying to take their birth not in the heavenly planets or in the same planet they are on, but on earth. Because on earth there's such a mixture of happiness and distress. The desire, the experience of happiness is there enough that you want to keep it, but you have no ability to keep it because of the experiences of distress. And lives always go out of control in the earthly realm. There's such a mixture of happiness and distress. So therefore, the desire comes to the heart to get out. And that desire is our greatest wealth. This is called the Bhakti Lata Beach. And it is cultivated by the rules and regulations, etc., especially the chanting and hearing about Krishna, because by Nivrittita Sharabhagiyamanam Bhavoshada, it is the Oshad, this chanting and hearing is the medicine. For a conditioned soul, it is the medicine that cures the disease of an increase of material desires, a hopeless increase of material desires that cause us to jump like monkeys from one branch of material existence to the other. This is from the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The description is given of material existence is like a banyan tree. And here the addition of the monkeys. The monkeys are placed on the tree, jumping from one branch to the other, trying to enjoy the fruit of the tree, but it's in the material world, and it's faulty. It must be faulty. It must be faulty. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has said that if one actually comes to the conclusion that no place in the material world, no position in the material world can make me happy, he has taken the greatest step forward in his spiritual life. Because there is such a tendency to be dreaming, what I call the if only. If only I could go through my own list of if-onlys, but I won't bother. But if only this had happened, if only I used to think if only I had straight hair, but now it's more if I had some hair. Only if my knee worked, if only if I had made this choice, if only that, if only I didn't do this, if only I do that. And when we're thinking like that, actually speaking, we're planting our seed, the seeds for our next births in this world, on one branch or another, higher, lower, middle. Really, there should be if only, and that's if only I had some love for Krishna, if only I had that, if only my heart wasn't so hard, if only I had a real taste for the holy names, if only I had a taste for Goloka Vrindavan, for actual service to Srila Prabhupada, to his movement, to Prabhupada's followers, if only that, if only I wasn't so selfish and self-absorbed, because that will keep us forever jumping in here. But Bilva Swaga, and that will come to the point, is different from heavenly Swaga and earthly Swaga. And it's different, even though it's subterranean and hellish. A lower planetary system, it's hellish. There is a description in the 5th canto of many of the planets, but one of them, soon as you enter into there, beautiful ladies come to you and feed you intoxicants. And then, as you're trying to enjoy them, they enjoy you. And then the next lower planet, I think it is Vittala, there's just gold. So what do you want? What do we want that we think will actually satisfy the great dissatisfaction that is in every conditioned soul's heart? What is it? Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, Mahaprabhu says, do you want to be a great scholar even? Sundarim also means beautiful women, but also beautiful verses. You want to be able to be a great scholar, and everyone will say, what a great scholar this one is, and oh, he's so wonderful. Or you want to be a great giver of Bhagavatam classes? And then everyone will say, oh, Prabhu, so nice, and here's some. What do you want? If you want these subtle pleasures, you'll go upward. If you want these lower pleasures, you will go down. And you get filled, and this is why you don't return. And it's not literally you don't return. It's not like forever damnation, not like that. But we don't return from these places because we get filled with so many material desires. Yes, so many material desires. I want this and that and this and that. All the things that I didn't get in this life, I want. And therefore we keep going from one branch to the next, to the next, to the next. And there's no facility for detachment because Rajagun, Tamagun, they fill us with so many desires and so much anger. No sattva. So if we enter that hole, and the enjoyment, the Bhagavatam says, the enjoyment on these Bilvaswaga planets is even more than the other two, and therefore you enter, and you don't come back, because you don't want to come back. That's why. At any time, at any place, if we sincerely pray to Krishna, Krishna, now I've had enough. Please allow me to serve you. I just want to serve you now. That is actually, please accept me as your servant. I've had enough. Krishna hears that. And earlier we heard how he protected Ajamil by his calling out Narayana. And that's what the 6th canto is about more. This 5th canto, this part over here, this section is pushing the part. Narada Muni is pushing to the Haryasvas. Don't try to enjoy it. Don't enter this hole. Because it's once you enter into that hole, you think your choice is, should I go left or go right? Should I get this job or that job? Or should I get this car or that car? And this one won't satisfy me, so I should have that car. And this person didn't satisfy me, so I should get this. I should have more perfect job, more perfect money, more perfect car, more perfect wife, more perfect children, more perfect this, more perfect face, right height, right color eyes, playing this musical instrument, doing this, doing that. Just so many material choices that keep us jumping forever on the tree like a monkey. But if we somehow come to the conclusion by association, by mercy, by Krishna's mercy, by the mercy of Vaishnavas, that no, I've had enough, Krishna hears that. And that's what the 6th canto is about. It's about, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the 6th canto, does anyone know what he says? It's about, Poshana, but he's specific, which means the protection, the Lord's protection. But he takes it one step forward. It means the Lord's protection of his devotees to show how dear the devotee is to the Lord, how kind Krishna is to his devotee. Look what he did with Ajamil. He was calling his son Narayana. But Lord Narayana heard that, oh, that is my name. He's calling me. How kind Krishna is. How kind Krishna is to Chitraketu. How kind Krishna is to Vitrasura. Difficult circumstances, yet, but Krishna, Vitrasura, is being killed by Indra. And he says, let me go. I just want to be with my Lord. Because Krishna has not left him. Ham haritava padaikamulam dasano dasa bhavatasmi bhuya. These verses are so wonderful. And then in the last part of the 6th canto, how kind Krishna is to his devotees. Don't go to the material realm. It is empty. You won't get what you're looking for there. It's temporary. But go to the land of Krishna, where Krishna is the king. What is Krishna's name as the king of Braja? Govinda. Nanda Kumar, the son of the king. He's the prince of Braj. Go there. It is sweet. It's unlimitedly sweet. And it's eternal. That is the message of the Bhagavatam. But in the last part of the 6th canto, there's this Pumsa Savana ritual that is described. That how kind Krishna is to his devotees. That, I'll just say it very briefly, that Diti wants to kill Indra and wants to perform a sacrifice. And Kashyapa Muni gives her a Vishnu sacrifice to perform, because he knows that if you worship Vishnu, the heart, everything will turn out right. And your heart will be purified, because Krishna is so kind. Because Krishna is so kind. He takes care of his devotees. He's personal. And then Indra comes to destroy her tapasya. And he, by serving someone who's serving Vishnu, he becomes purified and gives up all his enmity. She becomes purified and gives up all her enmity. And the result is the Marathas who aren't qualified to be demigods, but because they're born of Diti, they become Indra's brothers. And they become exalted by this. So this is the process of devotional service. It's not that just by performing it ritualistically, and I don't mean ritualistically, but I mean to say it's an offering, it's savor, it's an offering to Krishna. And Krishna appreciates this. Yatatas Vishyamati. He says, my devotee is chanting my name. He's doing something for me. He sees the good. So very wonderful. So that's the message of the 6th canto. The 5th canto is more, don't be an animal. Perform Brahmasyokyam Tvanantam, those activities. And in the 6th canto, here's why. Because Krishna is so kind to his devotees. And this one part of this 5th canto, this Haryasva's prayers, etc., it's talking about, again, the same point, don't enter the material world, more like on the 5th canto, don't enter. Narada Muni is saying, be detached from the material world, don't get entangled, don't get entangled. So just to end, I would just like to read some prayers by someone in these lower heavenly planets named Bali Maharaj in Sutala, what he says when he's in the lowest place, which has the most enjoyment. This is what he says. And these prayers, they're wonderful, wonderful. He says, because he was such a devotee that he gave everything to Krishna, and Krishna sent him to Sutala, but he gave himself to Bali Maharaj. And this is what Bali Maharaj concludes. Alas, how pitiable it is for Indra, the king of heaven, that although he is very learned and powerful, and although he chose Brihaspati as his prime minister to instruct him, he is completely ignorant concerning spiritual advancement. Brihaspati is also unintelligent because he did not properly instruct his disciple. Indra, his disciple Indra, Lord Vamandev was standing at Indra's door. But King Indra, instead of begging him for an opportunity to render transcendental loving service, Indra was there and he could have said, please allow me to serve you, to Vamandev. But instead, he engaged him in asking me for alms to gain the 3 worlds for his sense gratification. Sovereignty over the 3 worlds is very insignificant because whatever material opulence one may possess lasts only for an age of Manu, which is just a tiny fraction of endless time. So what do I want actually? What is it that keeps me? Is it a sandwich? What is it? We all have little hidden things that we keep there that we want. Well, Bali Maharaj is saying, well, it's not worth it. Continuing, my grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, is the only person to have understood his own self-interest. Upon the death of Prahlad's father, Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsingadev wanted to offer Prahlad his father's kingdom and even wanted to grant him liberation from material bondage. But Prahlad accepted neither. Liberation, material opulence, he thought, are obstacles to bhakti. And therefore, such gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead are not his actual mercy. Consequently, instead of accepting the results of karma and gyan, material opulence and liberation, Prahlad Maharaj simply begged the Lord for engagement in the service of his servants. Tanobritya seva. And persons like us, he continues, who are still attached. Prahlad is showing the way. He's a Mahajan. But persons like us, like me, who are still attached to material enjoyment, who are contaminated by the modes of material nature, and who lack the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we cannot follow the supreme path of Prahlad Maharaj, the exalted devotee of the Lord. So those are the words of Bali Maharaj from his vision of having given everything to Krishna. This is all he wanted. I want to serve, I want to serve, I want to serve. Okay. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. A minute's worth of questions, if anyone. I tried to answer your question. Anyone else have any questions? Yes, Paul. I couldn't hear.
Hare Krishna, bro. What do you suggest for regarding this verse?
Regarding?
What do you suggest for us regarding this verse?
I thought that's what you were talking about.
You mean what should you do? What should you do? Oh, yeah. Read Bhagavad Gita. Associate with devotees. Do you stay in Vrindavan? Do you live in Vrindavan? Just stay here, serve. Pray to the deities, pray to Srila Prabhupada for help. Serve the devotees, serve Krishna, chant, study, follow the principles. Be happy, trust that Krishna will take care of you. But the hardest part is to be sincere, I find. On the deepest level, always, constantly. To be sincere and really, this is all I want. Please, please, this is all I want. I just want to be your servant. And how to become sincere? Associate with those who are more sincere than you. Okay? Okay, last question. Yes?
You just mentioned Krishna is very kind to the devotees, but devotees are under us and they're serving Krishna, but they don't follow the sadhana properly. My mind becomes disturbed and then I don't know what...
Wait, I couldn't hear the beginning.
I'm saying, we see that even one name somebody chants, Krishna is very kind to him. He's a very pure-hearted soul, very nice person. But devotees who are under me, and they don't follow, like they don't come for japa.
Under you?
Yes.
Or the devotees who serve?
So, sir, under me, and then they don't come for japa, they say, I'll come, and they will not come for Guru Puja, then my mind completely becomes disturbed. How to see them?
Talk to your temple president. You should be compassionate to them. You should be compassionate. That's the mood of a devotee. You know, you're talking on two things at once in one sense. How to practically deal with it, and how to theoretically set your mind so you can practically deal with it. So I'll just talk about the theoretical, but then you have to practically deal with it. The theoretical is that you should have compassion. The devotees, they've come here to serve. You should be compassionate to them. And when your mind is compassionate and your consciousness is right, you'll have the most ability to affect their consciousness. So the prime rule is, the first thing we have to do is make sure that we are right. I once went to a teacher he was teaching me some kind of a technique to help my bed posture. And he touched me. And he went like this. So I asked him, what are you doing? What are you thinking of? Are you saying some kind of mantras or something? What are you doing? And he said, no, I'm just trying to get my own posture right, my own consciousness right. So that's the prime step in teaching, is get your own self right, and then your ability to affect others is strongest. And then I asked him, could you do that without touching me? I was getting curious about this concept. And he said, I never thought of that. But that's certainly what Prabhupada did. Look what he did. He affected so many people without physically going like this or giving them big hugs. By the power of the depth of his consciousness, pure sincerity, pure surrender, pure devotion, he affected so many. So that's the great challenge. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.